They control the government, the banks, and the media. They control everything. They are all powerful, all knowing, and are always watching you. They are the Illuminati, a secret society of global elites as old as the United States itself that has been guiding humanity for centuries. Sounds scary, right? Well, what if I told you they were the good guys? Hello everyone, I'm Matt Mitrovich, the alternate historian, and happy Halloween! This year I decided to celebrate my favorite holiday by discussing one of the most infamous secret societies of all time, the Illuminati. Now, the pop culture version of the Illuminati has almost no relation to the real Illuminati. In our timeline, Europe was going through a period of its history that is remembered as the Age of Enlightenment. It was a time where people were promoting the use of reason and the scientific method. Ideas like individual liberties and constitutional government were also becoming more popular, and it was near the tail end of this age that the Illuminati were founded. Officially called the Order of the Illuminati, but sometimes remembered in history as the Bavarian Illuminati, they were a secret society founded on May 1st, 1776, in the town of Ingolstadt, Bavaria, by one Adam Weishaupt. He was a college professor and utopian thinker who was dissatisfied with the secret societies that existed at the time, like the Freemasons. So he started his own secret society that would gather freethinkers like himself to help spread republicanism, secularism, the scientific method, and other Enlightenment-era ideas among European elites. The hope was that these new radicalized men would help bring down the superstitious and oppressive feudal regimes that still dominated late 18th century Europe. Which sounds good, actually. Like some of the ideas that Weishaupt and the Illuminati wanted the world to adopt, like freedom of speech and separation of church and state, would find their way into the American Constitution. And considering the French Revolution was just on the horizon, perhaps he was sensing the simmering discontent in Europe's status quo. Now, some interesting things came up in my research of the Illuminati. One is that they were not the first group to call themselves the Illuminati, which roughly translates from Latin as the Enlightened Ones. Indeed, there is evidence showing early Christian groups referred to themselves as the Illuminati. Also, despite usually being associated with the Eye of Providence or the All-Seeing Eye, a Freemason symbol, the Bavarian Illuminati adopted as their symbol an owl perched on a book and surrounded by a wreath. How exactly the All-Seeing Eye became linked with the Illuminati, despite not being an official symbol of the order, is unclear to me, but as I will explain later, it probably has something to do with the many links between the Illuminati and the Freemasons. If the owl symbol was used on American money, would the country be more or less crazy? Anywho, to grow the Illuminati, Weishaupt sought new members from among Freemason lodges, with promises of occult secrets and self-help. Members had to learn an elaborate series of codes and ciphers, go through a variety of bizarre rituals, and were also required to provide incriminating information about themselves, which could be used as blackmail should anyone attempt to expose the secrets of the Illuminati. Meanwhile, the leadership and senior members of the order were kept secret from the newbies, but this information was revealed as they rose through the ranks. Once they reached a higher level, they gained the opportunity to be lectured to by and debate with these members on all the hot philosophical issues of the day. Jesus, this is starting to sound like the most pretentious debate club of all time. Of course, Weishaupt's true goal was to use the Illuminati to replace the feudal lords of Europe with republicans who just so happened to be part of the same social club. And this club was rather exclusive. While there were some commoners and Jews omitted, these were the exception rather than the rule. Your average Illuminati member was a well-off white male Christian, possibly a nobleman, and likely already a Freemason. Still, you've got to start somewhere, and certainly the founders of the U.S. ticked off many of those same boxes and still managed to start a new republic whose ideals helped inspire future progressive movements. Now, at its height, the Illuminati had around 2,000 members in places like Germany, France, Italy, Poland, Denmark, and many other parts of Europe. Known members included the German polymath and author of Faust, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, and there is even some speculation that the famous composer Mozart was a member due to his Masonic lodge being heavily infiltrated by the Illuminati. However, internal dissent within the ranks of the Illuminati, conflicts with other secret societies, and certain members being unable to keep their mouths shut led to the society being exposed and banned in Bavaria in 1785. Many of its members lost their jobs, were driven from their homes, or were imprisoned. Thus, the Illuminati ceased to exist. Or, that's what they want you to think. You may have heard the conspiracy theory that the Illuminati still exists and are in control of the world. And well, to give the Tin Foil Brigade some credit, it's not like the Illuminati members were executed or anything. These men were the upper class of European society, and thus were easily able to ride out the drama. Indeed, Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Illuminati, lived into his 80s and continued to write about his secret society and its woke, radical ideas. Meanwhile, other former members of the Illuminati remained active in the Freemasons, who, as you might remember, were the people the Illuminati most often recruited from. So the idea that the Illuminati just reformed once the heat was off them is not a crazy idea, but there is no proof they did this. Also, considering how bad the Illuminati were at keeping their secret society a secret, it's hard to imagine they would have had more success at keeping things under the lid a second time. But nevertheless, the belief that the Illuminati were still out there began almost as soon as it was shut down, and it has lasted to the present day. The Illuminati have been blamed for many historical events like the French and Russian revolutions, and the assassinations of political figures like American President John F. Kennedy. Many prominent figures in American history, including George Washington, believed in Illuminati conspiracy theories. Today, the Illuminati remain a major boogeyman among fiction writers and conspiracy theorists, especially of the more conservative variety. Much like the Jews, the Jesuits, the Freemasons, the CIA, or Antifa, the Illuminati get blamed for almost everything that goes wrong as they supposedly carry out their clandestine plan to bring about the New World Order. But what if the Illuminati were never exposed? What if they continued to operate in secret? Would they succeed in their plan to bring about a revolution in Europe? There are some obvious hurdles with this what if. For one thing, despite what all the Alex Jones fans like to believe, it's actually really hard to keep a conspiracy to overthrow all the crowned heads of Europe a secret, especially when said group numbers in the thousands and is actively recruiting all across Europe. For another thing, the members of the Illuminati aren't revolutionaries. These are artists, thinkers, and rich people with too much time on their hands. Maybe useful and inspiring and funding others to fight, but not the kind of people to charge an infantry line. I mean, the guy who founded it was literally a college professor. Honestly, in retrospect, it's kind of weird that everyone got so worked up about what one college professor was doing. I mean, can you imagine if we today just focused on what college professors were doing or saying rather than address actual real problems that are happening? Can you imagine? However, if the Illuminati survived long enough to actually do something with their growing influence over Europe, perhaps they wouldn't have to stay secret for long, and might just find the people who can fight a revolutionary war for them. So if the Illuminati keep it together, perhaps they stir up enough support for their ideas to kick off a revolution in Germany, such as how it is depicted in this map posted in the Imaginary Map subreddit by Lafinchi History. I hope I'm saying that right. Then this Illuminati-guided German Republic does what many conspiracy theorists say the Illuminati did in our timeline, and they ignite the French Revolution of 1789. Imagine then a Franco-German Republican alliance marching across Europe to free the masses from feudal tyranny. And if they succeed, what happens next? By this point, the Illuminati would no longer need to remain a secret. Their members would be the ones drafting the new constitutions and becoming the first leaders of the new United Illuminated Republics. The Illuminati would separate church and state, increase educational opportunities, and encourage research into new avenues of science. Being a member of the Order of the Illuminati would be seen as a badge of honor, and one that everyone would want to have for themselves. The now public Illuminati would see a huge spike in membership, as chapters spread across every European city, with Ingolstadt, of course, being the headquarters of the order. Although, to be honest, despite their radical, for the time, politics, these guys weren't exactly progressives. For example, they expected men to remain in control of society, and I wouldn't be surprised to learn they did not consider non-white men eligible to join their order, and there probably wouldn't be a rush to induct more Jews. However, you have to start somewhere. The founders of the U.S. were far from progressive themselves, but they still established a foundation that could be built upon by the people who opposed slavery, fought for women's right to vote, battled Nazis at Normandy, marched for civil rights, or demanded the right to marry the person they love, regardless of their gender. Perhaps this Illuminati state would follow the same path. But would anyone be resisting the Illuminati? While many European kings and nobles would be deposed, possibly even killed, some might flee to their American colonies or elsewhere. Indeed, the anti-Illuminati crowd might find an ally in the young United States. As mentioned earlier, conspiracy theories about the Bavarian Illuminati reached the shores of North America as New England preachers warned their congregants about how these woke, illuminated Republicans would destroy Christianity and topple the American government. Thus, in this alternate timeline, the U.S. may become a bulwark against the rule of the Illuminati. Fear of Illuminatism might lead to Americans rejecting Thomas Jefferson and his Democratic Republicans, who in our timeline were suspected by Federalists of being sympathetic to the goals of the Illuminati. So America morphs into an intolerant pseudo-theocracy allied with a variety of European kingdoms in exile, dedicated to stamping out any kind of Illuminati thought. But perhaps this resistance wouldn't last long, as Illuminati agents are sent to infiltrate the United States and the European colonies across America, secretly converting people to Illuminatism, the same way they spread it in Europe. Soon the Illuminati have total control of the New World as well as the Old. After that, it's difficult to speculate on what the next 200-ish years will be like. Will the Illuminati world state spread to other corners of the globe either by imperialism or voluntary invites? Will the secularism of the early Illuminati morph into state atheism? How would the Illuminati handle women and people of color in their New World Order? Heck, Weishaupt was apparently supportive of women getting abortions, so maybe we would see an earlier women's rights movement. One thing I am fairly certain of is that membership in the Illuminati would be a prerequisite before someone could work for the world state, the growing number of universities, or other institutions around the world. I mean, this would be where the elite of the United Illuminated Republics would hang out, and they'd want one of their own to be in charge of things. But what about those denied entry? They might seek to join other fraternal organizations, such as the Masons, in order to have their collective voices heard. These groups would compete with the Illuminati for influence over control of certain segments of society. Part fraternity, part labor union, part political machine. This alternate timeline would be dominated by exclusive clubs competing for control, much like how Hal Johnson speculated on in his counterfactual essay on the Masons, included in his 2023 novel, Impossible Histories. Side note, while Johnson does mention Weishaupt, he only talks about him as a Mason and not as the founder of the Illuminati, which is a bit odd. Hal, did someone get to you? And who knows? There may even be some secret societies lurking in the dark places of this alternate world, trying to undermine the Illuminati and break apart their world state. They might attract bored Illuminati members with promises of occult knowledge and strange rituals. Thus, in an ironic twist of fate, it would be the leaders of the Illuminati warning us of a dark, sinister cabal seeking to control the world. I might have said too much, so let's wrap this up before they shut me up for good. Learning about the Bavarian Illuminati in the year 2025 is certainly an interesting experience. Seeing my country dominated by powerful oligarchs backed by uncurious masses who think vaccines cause autism or a horse dewormer is a basic cure-all made me realize that the people the Illuminati once raged against are still in power. But what we don't need right now is a bunch of rich guys pretending to be woke wizards or whatever. What we need is for people to go out in the open and proudly stand up for the same ideals that the Illuminati, and coincidentally the founders of the United States, stood for, and say to the modern forces of superstition and tyranny, we will not go back. Well, that's all to say on the subject. If you enjoy what I do, please like, comment, subscribe, share this video, support me on Patreon. I'm Matt Mitrovich, the Alternate Historian. Happy Halloween.